The time is 6:30 and a quorum being present, I call this meeting to order. First items on the agenda, there are no minutes, so we can skip right to agenda item A. Agenda item A has been continued, or it's been requested to be continued. Could I have a motion to continue the request for a certificate of compliance?
To the next meeting? Or?
Yes, to the next meeting, right?
All right.
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right, agenda item B is a public hearing. It's a notice of intent for Donald McLaren, 10 Sesame Street, Assessors Map 9, Lot 52, DEP file number 305-1208. Could you please introduce yourself for the record?
My name is Troy Stearns of Civil Design Consulting Incorporated. I'm here on behalf of the applicant and owner, Donald McLaren. I'm here today regarding an application for a notice of intent for the property located at 10 Sesame Street in the R40 zone district. The project site is approximately 1 acre, contains a single-family house built in 1975, driveway, shed, and landscaped areas. A bordering vegetated wetland is located to the west of the existing house. The majority of the existing house is located between the 50-foot no-build and 100-foot buffer zones. Portions of the 25 no disturb zone are disturbed with lawn, fencing, and a portion of the shed. The purpose of this application is to construct a 1,000 square foot family suite addition to the existing single family dwelling with horseshoe driveway, landscaping, and minor grading. The proposed addition will be primarily located between the 50 and 100 foot buffers with approximately 19 square feet encroaching the 50 foot no build zone. Encroachments within the no-build zone include a portion of the existing house, a shed, and proposed addition totaling approximately 184 square feet. This equals about 1% of the total area within the 50-foot no-build zone. This satisfies the maximum 10% threshold noted in the ordinance. Other work between the 25 and 50-foot buffers include minor grading and landscaping. There is no work proposed within the 25-foot no-disturb zone. Total proposed impervious area within the 100-foot buffer zone is approximately 3,700 square feet, representing a 1,700 square foot increase compared to the existing conditions. There's a 19 square foot increase between the 25 and 50-foot buffers attributed by the addition, and there's a 1,700 square foot increase between the 50 and 100-foot buffers attributed by the addition and driveway. Lastly, erosion control will be installed along the limit of work. If the committee has any questions or concerns, I can try to address them.
Thank you. It seems like a pretty straightforward application. You're not going too far. It's only 19 square feet into the 50-foot buffer zone.
Correct.
I guess my only question is the driveway. There's the existing driveway. You're adding a lot extra driveway for this new construction, this part of the construction. Did you look at any alternatives to decrease the size instead of like having the horseshoe kind of restructuring it so there's less driveway in the 100-foot buffer zone?
I believe the applicant just wanted to park the car near the addition for access.
All right. Any other questions or comments from the commission? Not hearing any. All right, yeah, so again, you still have to go through planning, right?
For the family suite addition application, which has been submitted.
Oh, all right, never mind. All right, well, if there's no questions or comments from the commission, before I read out the special conditions, This is a public hearing. There's a lot of people here. I don't think you're here for this application, but if anybody would like to make a comment, you can go up to the podium and introduce yourself. And I will give you a moment to do that if you so choose. Not, oh, if you. Hello.
Did I see this? Is this?
Yeah, it should be available online, but you don't have a projection.
Okay, I don't get this. Can you tell me, is the addition?
I'm sorry. Before you continue, I need you to introduce yourself, your name and address for the record.
Mary Rasmussen?
Can you speak it into the microphone? Sorry.
Okay. Mary Rasmussen, 11 Sesame Street,
Thank you.
across the street.
Mm-hmm.
So is the addition going on the left-hand side or the right-hand side?
When you're looking at the building, it's going to be on the right-hand side.
On the right-hand side. Okay, I don't think that's going to affect us. Is there some drainage like on the left-hand side? That comes down the hill and through a culvert, underneath Sesame Street, because there's a drainage easement on our property from Whipple Road, but I don't think that's going to affect us.
I don't believe it would either. Looks like everything will be heading towards the wetlands.
Well, the drainage from the hill comes down the hill through the culvert.
I'm just going to interrupt you one more time. Can we speak into the microphone so it can be picked up for the record? Can we move that podium so she can continue seeing it?
Okay, that's all right. If it's on the right-hand side, I don't know if there's going to be like any interruption to the current. There's not going to be any kind of like construction on the left-hand side behind the house. Is that right?
Correct.
We're okay.
All right. Thank you. If you have a question, you can just go up to the microphone and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Joe Duggan, and I live at 30 Sesame Street, right beside 11. 10. What's the distance between the addition to my property line? How many feet do you need?
It's 15 and a half feet, roughly. You need 15 to meet the setback requirements.
15 feet? And you're going to have 15 feet in between the house and
We'll
my
have
property
15 and a
line?
half. 15 and a half feet.
15 and a half? Okay.
All right. If there's no further public comment, I am going to request a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right. Special conditions to accompany the order of conditions for 10 Sesame Street. Conditions may include the applicant shall install and maintain perimeter controls around the area of work to prevent the deposition of debris into nearby resource areas. Perimeter controls shall remain in place until all areas of erodible materials have been stabilized at the site. These controls shall act as a limit to work. No equipment can be stored or work done past this point. Prior to any construction activity commencing, the following must be completed. ESCs shall be installed by the applicant or an agent of the applicant. The conservation agent shall inspect and approve of the installed erosion controls, and erosion controls shall consist of both entrenched silt fence and staked straw wattles. And finally, prior to the end of activity, all exposed soil must be stabilized. Are you comfortable with all of those?
Yes.
All right. If there's no further comment from commission members, I will entertain a motion to approve the notice of intent.
I'll make a motion as discussed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Just move on.
All right, next item on the agenda is agenda item C, public hearing, notice of intent for Jack Whitehouse, 45 Pine Street, assessors map 45, lot 54, DP file number 305-1209.
I'm still Troy Stearns of Civil Design Consultants Incorporated on behalf of the applicant and owner, Jack Whitehouse. I'm here today regarding an application for a notice of intent for the property located at 45 Pine Street in the R40 zoning and groundwater protection overlay districts. The site is approximately 3.5 acres of undeveloped wooded land with wetlands to the north and west of the site. The purpose of this application is to construct a 1,600 square foot single-family dwelling with deck, driveway, landscaping, grading, clearing, and utilities. The proposed house and driveway are located nearly entirely within the 50-foot and 100-foot buffers, with small portions located outside the jurisdictional area. The house is located approximately 55 feet perpendicular from wetland flag 4D. Work within the 25-foot and 50-foot buffers include grading, landscaping, and clearing. No work is proposed within the 25-foot no disturb area. All impervious area will be located between the 50-foot and 100-foot buffers, totaling approximately 3,000 square feet. Lastly, erosion control will be installed along the limit of work. If the committee has any questions and concerns, I can try to address them.
All right. Excuse me, before we continue, it's very difficult to hear what people are saying when people are talking, so if you can take any conversations out into the hallway, I would appreciate that. All right. So this is for a new house. Where's the address going to be off of?
It's 45 Pine Street. It's recently been subdivided, though. So it's end of Donovan Way.
Dahlman Way, all right. So it seems like a pretty standard project. It's, you know, it's almost entirely in the 100-foot buffer zone. The actual house and driveway gets close to the 50-foot buffer zone, but still is outside of it. I guess like my main concern right now is that what we've experienced in the past is, you know, people build close to the wetlands and they cut down a bunch of trees, and then the house is sold, or, you know, the developer builds it, the house is sold, and then the new homeowner immediately wants to cut down even more trees. So I'm wondering, have you developed a plan where we're cutting down the fewest trees possible? I see the outline of the yard and stuff. It doesn't seem like a huge area to clear, but it's a lot. I'm worried about that limit of work of tree clearing. In a year, we're going to have even more tree clearing, and how do we prevent that from happening from the new, or for whoever ends up living here afterwards?
That makes sense. I believe to catch up with grade, like we kind of minimize the amount of tree clearing involved. As you can see, like the 119 contour, I don't know if you have the plan in front of you. We would kind of meet it towards the end of that that tree line that we're proposing. You know, same thing from the west and the south of the site. I feel like we do kind of minimize it as best as possible.
Any other questions or comments from the commission?
Since this is heavily wooded, have these wetlands been delineated recently?
Yes, by Norse Environmental.
This year or last year? Or actually last year, actually.
October.
Okay.
October.
And then is there any intent, obviously you're close to the wetlands, there's no intent to do any future work on this property, just to kind of expand on the chair's question?
As far as I know, there is no intention.
Would there be any opposition to putting that as a special condition? That no other additional clear cutting can be done?
I'd like to confirm with the applicant before I can commit to that.
Okay.
All right. Let me just-
Dan, so is this house sold already, or do you have a buyer, or it's just being built and you're going to put it on the market?
The owner of the property owns, they will be building it, and I'm not sure what their intentions are for it after.
Can I approach here or?
Yeah, I would rather you're technically the applicant, so please introduce yourself.
Sure. Michael Whitehouse. My father's Jack Whitehouse. He lives at 45 Pine. So I'm his son. So the purpose of this is to subdivide the lot, and then my family would move into the new property that's being built.
All right. So this is where we're bordering on not wetlands related topics of
Sure.
like who's going to live there and
Right,
stuff.
yeah, I get
So
it.
I'm a little hesitant to go down this road, but keeping the wetlands in mind. And that's where I'm talking about, like, I would rather all of the all of the landscaping be done initially and leave it for as long as possible. Like, I understand
Right.
that people eventually want to do additional landscaping when they live in a house for hopefully,
Right.
a very long time and stuff. But it's becoming the last, I can think of at least 3 or 4 different developments, and developments being big ones and small ones of like a single family house or
Yep.
multiple, in which like everything's all set and then instantly there's a tree that needs to be come down. So that's where I'm kind of, I'm very hesitant about the amount of trees coming down, and like the entire point of the buffer zones are that the land immediately next to the wetlands affects the wetland. So if you cut trees all the way to the 50-foot buffer zone, you're going to have trees that are affected on the other side of that buffer zone. So that's where I'm kind of really trying to dig in to see if there's a better way of clearing this land, that when the actual limit of work happens, we're sticking to the actual limit of work.
Sure.
And not having those unintended consequences and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. Is there anything I can speak to that would ease your concern?
I mean, I'm personally, I would like to see, maybe that's in there and I missed it, but some sort of plan for tree removal that's more in depth than just cutting them.
Okay.
I think we have a proposed special condition of our agent going and marking or confirming tree clearing before it happens. Is that,
Not currently, but I could add it.
all right. Yeah, I would like to see something along
That's number
those.
4, essentially, any tree not depicted has to be approved
All
by
right,
Abigail, so.
all right. So do we have, I mean, it's essentially a forested area.
Yep.
I think it would be difficult to have a, exact description of, or exact placement of every tree on this lot and stuff. But I guess, picking out what type of, a limit of work and then what type of trees are being, cut down and how we can prevent more than is necessary from being.
Well, this is a 2-scale drawing, right? So you're just going to cut down what's depicted in this area, correct?
More or less.
more or less doesn't, I think to answer Dan's question, doesn't sit easy. It's not a defined limit of work. That's why
Yeah,
I assume this was a 2-scale drawing, so you have defined dimensions that you're going to be cutting trees down within.
that makes sense. Something we could look into.
And then my other question is, obviously, it looks like 2 new CBs are being added on the pretty much road going to the driveway. Where is that outfalling? Just curious. There's an existing drain manhole, which I assume there's an existing outfall as well. Is there any impact to the additional flows?
Looks like it heads north. I'm not sure exactly where that heads to.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's going somewhere.
Yeah, there's a flooding issue down at the end of the driveway, so we're mitigating that by lowering the catch basins. Try to fix that.
Can you just kind of expand on that? You're lowering the catch basins. Whereabouts on the map are those?
It's right before the driveway, on the roundabout. There's a note saying adjust rim to 11865. Pointed out on this plan. So, this one right here,
All right.
and we'll be adding sill sacks as well.
All right.
Do you know, are these deep sump catch basins?
Not too sure.
All right, so it looks like we're going to continue until we can get a little bit more information and hopefully a tree cutting plan. So before, if there's any additional questions from the commission, always you can butt in at any time. But in the meantime, this is a public hearing. Because we're going to continue this meeting to the next or this hearing to the next meeting, there'll be an additional chance to speak in the public hearing. So I'm not going to close it, but I am going to give additional time, or I'm going to give time right now if there's anybody in the public who would like to make a comment. I just ask that you go up to the podium, introduce yourself, name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is John Ryan. I haven't really had the pleasure to meet the White House family, but I live at 15 Henry J. Drive in Tewksbury, abutting what these guys want to do. I would ask for a peer review. My other concerns is just what you're talking about is the trees. I run a non-profit organization called the Monarch Ranch. Last year, we raised and released over 3,000 monarchs in our backyard. We don't profit off of this at all. We don't sell them. But the whole idea is to repopulate the monarch population, which made the endangered species to now the threatened species list. Eventually, they'll be extinct if we don't start doing things about them. You mentioned trees. I appreciate that because a lot of those trees, if you come in my backyard now in the summertime, it will almost be like Christmas times with the lightning bugs. We have 10 to 12 bats that fly around. That takes care of our mosquitoes. We have many dragonflies. Our front lawn, I guarantee you, is one of the greenest lawns in the area. We don't use any pesticides, herbicides. We don't use any of that stuff. Those are my concerns because I've been studying that Vernal Pond that's back there and also that river that's back there. It is a pathway for very large snapping turtles that come from the Long Pond and Richardson Pond to go into that little ravine to hibernate. I have videotapes of that. Also in that area, we have a lot of birch trees, which is a home base for the black swallowtails. We are surrounded, luckily, by black cherry trees, which is part of the yellow swallowtails, which we have 20 to 30 flying around during the mating season. So my concern is the whole ecosystem that we put together there. If you want to see different types of frogs and toads, come to my backyard. I guarantee you see 24 to 30 frogs and toads you've never seen before. This is all because I don't believe in any poisons that should be put into our earth. I'm not saying that the White House is going to do anything to their grounds. That's none of my business. I'm not about that. All I'm about trying to do here is to preserve this beautiful land of ours and try to just get it back to normal. And there's so many trees back there that I've, like I said, I have plenty of videos of all the different areas that I've studied, and I could share them with you guys at any time, and you can look up who I am. I work with a lot of nonprofit organizations to teach kids about these beautiful creatures, and I would hate, matter of fact, I'd like to just say one thing too, please. You know, when you guys started spraying last summer, I happened to run into one of the guys that was spraying down on our cul-de-sac. Our cul-de-sac right now is loaded with monarch butterflies because of the work I've done over the years and the work that the neighbors have done too. But the guy was spraying, and I got lucky enough to ask him not to spray our house. And he asked me, he says, well, I can't really do anything about that. I said, well, listen, there's a Vernell Pond and a river right beside my house. And he said to me, he said, is there a live fish in there? And I said, yes, there is. He says that I will skip this area. So you mean to tell me that whatever they're spraying is good for humans and dogs, but not good for everything else? I mean, live fish, come on. I don't know what we're doing, but, you know, it's got to stop somewhere along the road here. And I'm just here to protect, you know, what we have going on here. And there's a way around that. I'll be happy to be on board with that. But there's a lot of changes with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife that are coming out. You guys should all know about that. And I'm very in tune with that. I will become a butterfly farmer this summer, so I will have all the legal documentation to do what I do. And I don't do this for anything but to teach the young kids, the grandparents, and other people about this beautiful thing that we may lose. So that's just my concern. Like I said, I just would like to have a peer review, and I have plenty of videos of that land and what goes on behind that land. And if we could work together on it somehow, whatever, I'm open for suggestions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So the peer review, this being a single-family house, I'm not sure what we can do to that. I don't think that's, yeah, like, can you speak to that?
I'm not clear, but I'll look into it tomorrow.
The other thing mentioned is the vernal pools. I don't see anything depicted on the maps that we have of vernal pools. It might be off property. You know, there's a legal and scientific definition of vernal pools, so I'm not sure if those would have been captured in a wetland delineation and stuff.
They should be.
Yeah,
If they exist, if they should be
Yeah.
protected. If Norris Environmental did in
Yeah.
October.
but I guess I just mean that from what we're seeing on these plans, if Norris has further, you know, a full delineation, you know, anything else that could be provided, I'd appreciate if you sent that to us.
Okay, I can do that.
I see another hand up. I just ask that you go to the podium.
Good evening. My name is Jim Bailey, live at 35 Donovan Way. To start off by saying I have no objection to the building of the structure. I was at the last meeting when they received a variance for the cut for the driveway, and at that time I expressed, and maybe it's more appropriate here, that I do have concern about the drainage. And I didn't quite hear, unfortunately I'm hard of hearing, what you guys have talked about, the storm drains at the end of the cul-de-sac. So there's two drains that'll be, I believe, on either side of the new driveway that'll be going through there. Not sure whether they both go to the same place. But one goes to a retention pond on the backside of my property, on my property. And I expressed there, those retention ponds, which for whatever reason were put in years ago when the development was there, haven't been maintained. So I have problems in my driveway. I also expressed where the town went and repaved the road without lowering it, so that they then had to come back and put basically bumpers at the end of our driveway to keep the water from the street out, which keeps the water in my driveway in. So, you know, my driveway basically lost probably half its life. So it's cracked, it's got to be taken care of. It's like an ice rink every winter. So that's right at the edge of the property, right where the property is going to be built. I talked to Michael Whitehouse about this, expressed to him that my concern was only that whatever is being done, and when I look at the sheet, at least the one I have, it's being built very close to the buffer zone. So my assumption is you don't want runoff going into the buffer zone, so it's got to go away from that. So where do I see that going? Down into the street. So I would like the commission to at least address or see how that plan is going to be to mitigate the runoff that's already a problem for us on the street.
Could you just go a little bit more into the catch basins that you were referring to at the base of the driveway? You're planning on expanding them, and I guess what are they right now, and how much bigger do you plan on making them?
So we plan to lower the rim, the catch basin southmost on the plan, one that is circled over here. We plan to lower that by approximately 2 inches and regrade at least up to the limitations of paving as shown on the plan. At least regrade that so that everything actually catches in those catch basins as opposed to, you know, just sitting against the curbs. So yeah, we feel like that would relieve it significantly.
Is there any additional flow from the new driveway that's going to the catch basins, or is that all sloped off to go into the yard?
It will be up to the property line that flow will be entering the catch basins. We have a high point and a ridge line right up against the property line. You can see it in the detail.
Okay, so between the 119 contour lines?
Even lower than that. So this detail right here, we have a ridge line right about here.
Okay. Yep.
And from there.
So essentially anything above that's going to stay on the property, anything below that's going to go to the catch basin?
Correct.
So there's virtually any small incremental flow that's getting added to those catch basins?
Correct.
Could, if I may, are both those drains going to the same retention pond?
It appears so. There's a drain manhole right in the middle. It looks like it's being fed by both catch basins and then heading towards your property, at least the retention pond.
Like I say, I would just stress that that just goes to the back of my property where there's no longer a pond. It's leveled out, it's all trees, so it just fills with water to the back of my property. So just making the board aware of it, that, you know, on that particular reason, I would object. Other than that, I have no objection to their building on the property, but I want to make sure it doesn't affect our property.
Thank you. All right, so if there's no further questions from the public, I'm not closing the public hearing just yet. Next meeting, there'll still be time to speak if you so choose. But I will entertain a motion to continue the public hearing and the notice of intent until the next meeting, if that's okay with everybody. Not seeing any objections. Could I have a motion to continue the public hearing? I'll take that one first.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion to continue the notice of intent until the next meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much. All right, Next item on the agenda is public hearing, notice of intent, Robert Zwicker, 1628 and 1636 Shawshene Street, Assessors Map 113, Lot 2, DEP file number 305-1206. Just give people a few seconds to filter out.
Tough 2 weeks?
I know.
No doubt.
How you doing? I'm Bob Zwicker. I'm the applicant.
Just give them a few more seconds. Excuse me, folks. Our meeting is still going on. I ask that you all go to the hallway. It's somewhere back there. We do have one. I've yet to use it.
I'll use my head.
We have our bodyguard. All right, the floor is yours if you could just introduce yourselves again.
All right, I'm Bob Zwicker. I am the applicant.
Good evening, Andy Bajasik from Dana Perkins, the engineer for the project. We're continuing from the last meeting, the last several meetings. So since the last time we met, I believe it was that afternoon of the meeting that we received peer review comments. Obviously, we didn't have time to, respond or provide revised plans before the meeting. So we have issued a new set of revised plans, essentially kind of cleaning up any of the remaining peer review comments. There were a lot of, a few typos here and there, planning issues regarding the handicap ramps, but the one probably most important to the Conservation Commission was an update to the level spreader detail. There was talk about adding a check dam in between the level spreader and the bin blocks. A check dam wasn't necessarily, I think we got the idea of what they wanted to do, where check dam didn't really apply, where that's more used in like swales, and that's not really what we're doing here. So what we decided to go with was a gravel apron, crushed stone apron in between the bin blocks and the level spreader, which will provide, we're anticipating the bin blocks slowing down the water pretty significantly before it gets to the level spreader itself. The crushed stone apron will help filter out some of the larger materials that, maybe it picks up across the yard that the bin block doesn't stop. Certainly TSS and stuff like that, an improvement. Certainly not, not to the level of a new site would be, but, under the stormwater, this is a redevelopment site, it's an improvement to what's out there. And then in addition to the upland gravel apron, we're also going to put crushed stone going down the down gradient slope in between the level spreader and the wetlands. The idea being, it'll get filtered out before it gets to the level spreader. It will sit in the level spreader, and then when it overflows, it gets additional filtering on the way out. Once again, it's an improvement of what's there. We anticipate the day-to-day rainstorms to be pretty good. Like, this should, be able to handle, the typical half-inch rain, first flush, as we like to call it.
Is it designed for any level?
No.
Okay.
So that was probably the biggest revision that we made to the plan. Like I said, we cleaned up some of the other comments. But if you have any other additional questions, we're here.
And we also extended the level layer.
That's correct. So there was a question, the level spreader was shown mostly behind the bin blocks. The bin blocks didn't extend kind of on the left-hand side of the property. The reason being there's a gate over there. So, the bin blocks would just kind of be in the way of the gate. But there is room in between the existing fence and kind of the existing driveway that's over there now. So we extended the level spreader down the fence in that area. Thank you.
All right. Anybody on the commission have any?
Yeah, Dan, I just had a question, and I apologize, this is probably in the information, but is the garage in the house hooked up to sewerage?
The garage and the house is hooked up
They're
to
hooked
town water and sewer, yes.
Town
Yes.
sewer, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So, it seems like we're in pretty good shape, unless anybody else on the commission has any questions or comments.
I have no questions.
So my understanding is that like you want to be up and running very quickly. I've heard.
If Mother Nature will allow, and you guys, of course.
So I guess I just want to from what I understand, town staff is willing to work with you. I don't think you're going to jump to the front of the line for anything, but they're aware that you're going to be trying to do this on an accelerated timeline and stuff. So I just ask that at the first sign of any deviation, you get into contact with Abigail, and that way we can all help you, at the first sign instead of, don't beg for forgiveness, ask for permission.
I think the project is pretty straightforward, so I'm really not expecting to see anything like that, but duly noted.
And so then we've also talked about the jagged lines of the bin blocks and why it's jagged lines and not just a straight thing. And in response, you've said that it might not be the exact layout, which is fine. I just want to reiterate that if you choose to move the bin blocks, if you're not going to keep to this pattern, it cannot go further into the wetlands. It has to go on the other side. If you deviate and it does go into the wetlands during the certificate of compliance, you'll be moving them you'll be moving them outside of it. So
correct. No, step one, we'll get it surveyed, we'll get it marked, we'll put the wattles in, we'll put the silt fence in, and that will protect us, not encroaching.
And then the other thing I want to say, is my mouse not working? So this property has wetlands, you'll own the wetlands. I trust that you are an expert in landscaping, but wetland landscaping is different from commercial and homeowner landscaping. So it's not, the same. My understanding is that there's some trash in the current wetlands. I would like to see them removed. I don't think you have to excavate the entire wetlands, but just going in there with, hands and stuff, picking up all the big trash. I think that would be good to add to the order of conditions that gets done.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, just one more. Since you're so close to the wetlands, I know within the stormwater report / you have an O&M manual with perpetual inspection requirements / maintenance duties. Is that being done by you, or are you hiring an outside company? Do you know?
It will.
Do you know what that you're required to do? I just want to make sure that you're aware since you're so close to the wetlands.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I will make myself knowledgeable of it.
Biannual, certain 2 times a year sweeping, 2 times a year inspection of the level spreaders.
Yep.
It's listed within your O&M manual that you'll keep a log.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure since you're such a close proximity to the wetlands, and I appreciate you working through this, that this is just a continual thing that has to be done to make sure the wetlands are
Just
protected.
in speaking of that was one of the remaining peer review comments that we dealt with on the planning side. They wanted extra language in there to make sure that we're submitting annual reports. I believe they go to planning. Certainly, I could copy you guys in, but they're submitted to the town of Tewksbury, I'll put it that way. So that was submitted to Alex yesterday.
All right, so this is a public hearing. Before I open it up to the public, I am going to read out the order of conditions. So these may include permanent wetland boundary signs to be installed along limit of work every 50 to 100 feet. No activity shall occur past these signs. Activities including walking, operation or storage of equipment, vegetation removal, digging, or addition of fill. The applicant shall install and maintain perimeter controls around the area of work to prevent the deposition of debris into nearby resource areas. Perimeter controls shall remain in place until all areas of erodible material have been stabilized at the site. These conditions shall act as a limit of work. No equipment can be stored or work done past this point. Prior to any construction activity commencing, the following must be completed. ESCs shall be installed by the applicant or an agent of the applicant. The conservation agent shall inspect and approve of the installed ESCs. ESCs shall include straw wattles and silt fencing. The straw wattles must be placed inside the silt fencing. Straw wattles must be staked through the wattle every 6 to 8 feet, and at the end, these straw wattles must also be overlapping by about 1 foot. A pre-construction meeting must be held with the conservation agent to discuss all pertinent conditions. All level spreaders must be installed prior to bin blocks or fill being installed. All bin blocks must be installed prior to any fill being at the site. Prior to the removal of erosion and sediment controls, ESCs, all exposed soil must be stabilized. A RAM plan must be submitted to Mass DEP as well as the town prior to construction activities, and all slopes must be stabilized with wetland seed mix prior to certificate of compliance and removal of ESCs. This slope stability shall be maintained in perpetuity. I can't say that word right now. Forever. Are we okay with all of that?
So I just had a little bit about 4 and 5. So I understand why you're saying it and stuff like that. When we do get the snow to melt and we are able to go out there and we are able to determine what type of work we're able to do, I'm not sure how frozen the ground will be. So I would like to propose that if we can't, we'll set up the wattle and the silt fence, as I said, is the first thing we do. If we can't do the digging to get the level layer in, I would like to put like a 2-foot wide, 6-inch deep crushed stone in that area and another wattle on the uphill side of that stone, and then be able to start my work on the far side of the property to be able to start getting some of it done. And then when the weather opens, and maybe I can work that final area.
Abigail, are you comfortable with that?
As long as the commission is comfortable, I know that the commission had.
Yeah.
I would just say for 4 and 5, pretty much deviations will be at the discretion or confirmation of the conservation agent.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. So the public hearing is still open. If there's anybody from the public who would like to make a comment, now is the time to do so. Give you a second. Not seeing anybody get up. Could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion to approve the notice of intent as discussed at this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have a second? Yes, I do. All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all your time.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Abby. We'll be seeing a lot of you. All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Agenda item E is a emergency certification for 70 Lancaster Road, Assessors Map 78, Lot 2.
Brian Right, so this was for a leaking water connection. They replaced it, and there's a condition to ensure that soil remains stable.
Thank you.
So is this work done on a main? Water main or on the surface?
No, on the connection, it was right up to the house.
But it was done by the DPW? I'm just curious.
No, I don't believe so. That was the town agent who ordered the work to be done, not the person who
okay.
did the work, but
Gotcha.
they.
So I was going to say, this should be an exempt activity if it was the town doing it.
It was, they went out and certified that it was a danger to their property.
Gotcha.
All right, any other discussion? If not, I will entertain a motion to ratify the emergency certification.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Agenda item F, emergency certification for 844 Old Shawshene Street, Assessors Map 98, Lot 70. Could you fill us in on the details?
Yeah, this is the same issue. They had a water connection leak towards their home, and they've replaced it. And then in order to keep soil stable, they spread straw over any exposed soils.
All right. If there's no discussion from the commission, I will entertain a motion to ratify the emergency cert.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Do we have any administrator reports? In that case, the next meeting is February 5th.
Just old business. Did you look into Geronimo?
Yes, I've started looking into it. There are some responses and other responses, but I will send a full report later in the week.
Appreciate that. All right, next meeting is February 5th, 2025. And could I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.